Oh, hey guys, how are you today?
Really good, thank you.
Yeah, really good, thanks.
Now, this is the first podcast where I've actually got more than one person on, so thank you. This is a premiere of some sort, so thank you for coming on.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, so the question I do ask everybody is, how do you like your coffee in the morning?
Go for it, Roy.
You first, then, Nick.
Okay. Double espresso.
Oh, nice, Ryan.
With one scoop of hot chocolate powder, chocolate oat
Yeah.
milk, and then it needs to be done in a percolator because it tastes best.
Well,
Very
it's really
specific.
funny. This I don't know how this question kind of started. This came about, but I think as we've just in our pre just talk realized that I love my caffeine, and didn't actually expect how much black coffee would come out. That was, and then also the mocha. That was the two that actually surprised me. I thought people would say like lattes and like cappuccinos kind of things. No, black coffee. It seems to
Yeah.
be the reigning champ. That's the
Rapid.
entrepreneur's drink. Okay, so what is it that you both do and why do you do it?
Do you want me
Roy?
to start?
Oh man, yeah,
Yeah.
go on.
So we're a health and fitness coaching company, and it's changed a little bit over the last 3 years. We do a number of things. The first thing that we do is we do one-to-one coaching, which is an individual with a goal, and we basically help to get them there, and it's all delivered online. So whether that is somebody that wants to just improve their health, whether they want to lose a bit of weight, maybe get ready for a holiday that's coming up, or they want to just start running or do their first 5K, whatever that is, we can help. And we take a very well-rounded approach to health and fitness. So it's not just the exercise, it's not just the nutrition, it's how is somebody sleeping, what's their mindset like, can we work on that? If we're working with females, can we work around the menstrual cycle and optimize around that? If you're working with people that are peri or menopausal or postmenopausal, what can you do there? And we just help people go through that process with individuals on the one-to-one side. What we also do is all of the things that we do on the one-to-one side, we actually do on our corporate side as well. And that is similar, but to more people. It might be the SLT team, it might be their employees. And that could be coaching individually with a group of people, or it could be us going into an organization to go, I work 18-hour days. My chances of getting not much sleep are limited. So what can you guys do for me? And then we might go through a seminar and say, this is what you guys can do. We also do some work with charity as well. So we work alongside a drug and alcohol rehabilitation centre, and we come in as part of their course to help them improve their health and well-being when they are going through that process, but also for life beyond that as well. So hopefully that answers the question what we do. Nick can answer why we do it. Stitch up.
Yeah, do you want to get into a bit of the background on why we started the
Yeah,
company, how it all kind of came about? Right. Okay.
well,
So
that's always there's always no no business owner or entrepreneur I know there isn't who really truly love what they're doing without the story behind it. And then I
yeah,
mean, it makes it even more super interesting when there's a partnership as well. So it's two minds coming together with one vision. So yeah, absolutely, definitely want to know what the
okay.
story is.
Well, it all started 20 years ago. No, it's not too bad. So I worked in business consultancy for a couple of decades, working with public sector, private sector. Spent 10 years working with the British military as well. And I had a particular contract up in North Yorkshire where I moved up there, and out the back of that, in 2 short years of doing a hell of a lot of commuting, getting up at 4 a.m, back at 10 at night, I put on an immense amount of weight. I stopped training because I just didn't have time, and I managed to put on 5.5 stone, which was no small task at the time.
No, but it creeps on without you even realizing.
It
You
does.
just,
Yeah.
if you, like you said, if you're doing that commuting hours, and after a little bit of time, you go, oh wow, how did I get here?
This happened. Yeah, completely. Yeah.
No, we've
Um,
all been there.
yeah. So yeah, how that kind of manifests itself is one day I was in a client's office and I'd had a bucket of coffee in the morning. It wasn't making any difference. I wasn't feeling very well. I thought I was coming down with something. I'm sat in the client's office. I'm starting to feel worse. And I started getting a tightness in my chest. That tightness then started moving down my arm. And that's kind of the last thing I remember. I don't remember the journey in the ambulance. Don't remember them working on me. Don't remember. The first thing I knew, I woke up in CCU. So at the back of that, I kind of realised that I needed to perhaps make a few changes in my life, and I moved back to Lincolnshire. And that is when, purely by chance, Ryan and I met at the gym because I decided I want to get back into training again and do something about it. Ryan and I pretty much hit it off straight away, and he was starting an online fitness business at the time, and I was interested in him helping me and me helping him with my background in business consultancy. Have to say, the first meeting was interesting. Everything that I kind of had prepared that would normally take about 2 or 3 weeks, Ryan was there and kind of, I've done that, I've done that, I've done that, I've done that. I'm like, okay, this guy's different. By the same token, he made me look at training in a completely different way as well. And that's kind of how things started. Rai went off to Australia for a year in between that as well, traveling around Asia. So we kept in contact. But then at the back of that, when he got back, we kind of decided that things were going to be we started to start the business. And that's kind of like how we met. Ryan's had his own journey with food, nutrition, and diet, and struggling with bulimia. And I'll let him talk to you a bit about that and how that's given him his reason really for doing what we do in terms of how much we care, people getting the result and making a change in their life.
Over to you,
just
Ryan, because I know you're. But thank you so much for Nick for sharing. I do feel a lot of people will resonate with that story, and when you have a pinnacle moment, which you suddenly then changes your behavior, it changes your perspective on the path that you were on. Um, I'm, I don't know about you, but I'm sure you're grateful that it wasn't a fatal, like, pivotal moment. It was
Kind
just a
of,
little
yeah.
bit of, yeah, it sounded like it got close. I'm not gonna lie, but again, it would just give you that shift. You were able
Yeah.
to make something
Yeah.
super positive out of a pretty shit situation.
Pretty much,
So
yeah.
thank you so much for sharing. And
That's true.
yeah, over to you, Ryan.
Yeah, and I don't know whether Nick was planning to save this, but one of the reasons why we set it up was Nick got such fantastic results. So he lost 5.5 stone, got back down to 85, but he then got back into sprinting. And long story short, he went on last year to become the UK top 500 metre sprinter for his age class. This year, we went to Finland and he won the 100 metre final for the European Masters Championships, which he always tries to downplay. But it's one of the reasons why we do what we do, because, you know, if you'd have said to Nick 5 or 6 years ago, at 120 kilos, just coming out of the hospital bed, you're going to be in Finland winning gold, doing that, he wouldn't have believed you. But it's to show other people as well that anything really is possible when you've got the right support, the right tools, the right mindset. It all can happen for you. So yeah.
Just quickly on that, because that's awesome. I absolutely love that so much. But when was the moment you went from just kind of being, I'm gonna get myself healthy again, I'm gonna get myself sort of fit again, to I want to actually go and compete at the Masters. What was that? Where was that? When did that happen?
I don't know. It was probably something really stupid, like on one of our morning walks where we were talking about training and stuff, and it was probably something really just like that. So, oh yeah, I'll give that a go.
Yeah,
Um,
how can it be?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, um, it's very different as an older athlete, especially where we
Mm.
were training before, where there were people 19, 20, 21, and you're kind of like, right, okay, where do I sit? Where do I sit within that? And it was, yeah, I'm not particularly competitive. I'm very competitive with myself, and it's always about getting a better time. But yeah, I think there was a moment where I was just like, you know what? I'm not too bad at this. I think I might be able to do something here. And yeah, it was that kind of point, and it was a conversation. I can't remember when it happened. Well, I might better remember, but it was just like, you know what? Let's give
Just
it a
kicked him
go.
onto the track.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. He presented me
Get
It's
with
on
like,
with it.
the
well, exactly. Just like, go on, you can do it, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
But I always love those stories because they're real good representations of you think of like you in the hospital bed thinking of that image, that vision of you winning and you're running it sprinting at the Masters. That is it feels so unattainable when you're in that A position. But because you actually went on the journey of incrementally, little bit at a time, did little bits. So by the time you actually got, I don't know what the time period was, but 4.5 years later, like you said, your mindset was just like, we can do this. Like, why not? How hard can it be? Because
yeah,
now we've shortened that vision, even though you probably didn't know how you're going to get there anyway. And so I love that so much.
yeah. And it was, I have to say, that moment stood on the start line, looking down the track in what was an Olympic stadium as well, and just that whole kind of feeling, everything in that second before the race went through my mind. The hospital bed, just the whole journey that we've been on to get to that point. I think that's the important thing as well. Okay, yeah, I ran the race, but in terms of what Rye and I have done kind of over the last 3-5 years, in terms of getting there, it is that thing about having someone in your corner shouting for you is really, really important as well. And sometimes, on the odd occasion, just giving you a quick kick up the arse and saying, "Yeah, back on it."
You're
Especially when you have an
like,
injury.
go on, let's go. So speaking of which, Ryan, tell us more about your story and how you got to this point.
Yeah, so I guess for me, I'd always done sport. I'd always played a lot of sports. So I always had a really fond memory of it. Um, did lots of it growing up. I played football, played rugby, did trampoline and did karate. Like, you name it, I did it. And as I got to, it must have been about 15, I got myself into the gym because that was that was the thing that people started to do at that age, and very quickly it became very obsessive for me. So I started, I just wanted to look a certain way, and I wanted like to, just be a better version of myself and stuff. But it became it became to a point where I was looking at, like the Olympic bodybuilders and stuff, and chasing that kind of physique, um, which was massively unrealistic for me. And I think when your expectation is like there and you're getting to like there, you feel like a failure versus actually what you've actually done. So I was chasing something that was quite unrealistic, and the consequence of that was my diet became very, very on or off. So I can remember like my mum serving food, and it was like, if it was alcohol in it, I was like, I'm not eating that. There's no chance I'm eating that. Like, alcohol's bad. This is bad. This is bad. Can't have that.
It's very an all or nothing
Yeah,
mentality.
100%. And because of that, most of the time I could be okay. But if I was to have, say, like a cookie or, a pizza or whatever, that's when things really started to spiral out of control for me, because didn't have a switch to be able to go, no, I need to stop now. So if I had something bad, it felt like I'd failed, and then I'd have more of that to make myself feel better. And it was just this like self-perpetuating cycle. And I did that for about a year to a year and a half. But my end state was basically make myself throw up to get that bad food out of my body so that I could still maintain like a reasonable physique. So yeah, mine was more. I guess it was an eating disorder, wasn't it? Making
Yeah,
myself throw up at that point. So
you don't
yeah, I
have
went
to
through that
be
process.
you don't have to be the stereotypical like physique that people think is what a eating disorder is. I uh again, in my background, I've been in the world of sports, and even it gets a little bit more visibility in the bodybuilding world, where eating disorders are super super high because the mentality it takes to become an athlete. The similarities are so close. It's
Mm.
just the focus of that mentality and of where it's been pointed. Because the all or nothing, that switch not going off, you need that to be the best athlete you can be, because it's that weird drive where you go, I had a terrible training session, I'm going to keep going, I'm going to do more to prove myself that I'm going to be better. And in the world of sport, it's great, it kind of works for you. In the world of food, doesn't work as well. And it just makes athletes so vulnerable to just fall into that trap. And people will be surprised at how amazed athletes are have suffered of some sort of food related I'm going to say thing, just food related thing in their career. So I think a lot of people will go, no, that's yeah,
Yeah.
the parallels are there. So you gone from that place. Then what happened next?
I I had to kind of take myself out of it. So I completely unfollowed all of the fitness stuff, and I switched up my training. And I think it's one of the reasons why even to this day, like my focus is always a sport, because it's more than just the gym for me. So I flipped my training. I had some counselling at the time as well to help me overcome that and to help me to be like more calm around food and to think at things differently. Um, but the biggest shift for me was focusing my training to something rather than it just being the gym, because there was never an end goal with the gym. It was always like you wanted to be more muscly, you wanted to be stronger, you wanted to lift more weight. Whereas now, and even when I was making that transition, it was how could I be better in that sport, and it wasn't necessarily about looking a certain way and having a bigger chest or lifting a heavier
Mm.
weight. It was more how could I actually just be more competitive within that sport. So that was kind of my route into being more balanced, I would say, with my food. So yeah.
And then one of the things that Nick you said, and then Ryan you then complimented, is the different approach to training. So do you still do this a different approach? And what was that different approach, Nick, for you? From what perspective did you have to train into Ryan coming in and was like, no, we're going to change it up. We're going to do it this way. What did that look like?
It's really interesting because it's something that happens when we're talking to a lot of people now when we're actually coaching them on a one-to-one basis. It was moving away from classic bow split, doing chest back, all those sort of things, moving to something that's more geared around the sport that you're actually doing. So we moved from single exercises into a full body workout, which made sure that I wasn't overtraining. So I did have maybe a little bit of a tendency to be that kind of all or nothing approach, where it was like, if I'm not training 7 days a week, then obviously I'm not doing well enough. So therefore, I'm just going to train 7 days a week, break myself, train 7 days a week, break myself, and breaking that cycle, I think, was really important. And I think as well, kind of looking at nutrition differently, but also looking at all the other elements that we now coach people on in terms of sleep and stuff like that. It's a case of looking at an individual. If I look at myself, looking at everything and understanding what impact all of those things were having, and then looking at a different way of training compared to what everyone else was saying, and then very quickly seeing how I wouldn't wake up in the morning after a leg day not being able to walk. It was kind of like, okay, so now I'm ready to train again and I can train again. I think that was probably one of the biggest things. Ryan might have some other ideas about what changed way back then, but yeah, I think around nutrition as well. Looking at that differently, realizing some of the some of the associations that I've made with food as well. So that was interesting. And just basically for the one thing that we talk to all our clients about as well is just looking at a protein balance, looking at that and just the total calories. We don't get into anything else. We try and keep everything as super simple as possible. And when you keep things simple, it's easier to carry them out, implement them. And as we find out, both with me, with Ryan, and with our clients as well, we get the results. If you make things too complicated or introduce too many things too quickly, people generally tend to freeze and don't enjoy the process. Whereas if they're learning every single step of the way and they're seeing progress every step of the way, that's when things really, when the magic really starts to happen for people.
I'm starting to notice a theme in today's podcast is, they're looking for those little 1% and those little increments and just taking one step at a time, where, the fallacy of the entrepreneur is we want to do everything now. we want results now. And like we said, sometimes we've got to understand what that process looks like and what that journey look like. And I really want to touch on kind of the importance of everything that you guys are doing and the importance of why you're taking this holistic approach. So for let's talking about I'm just going to talk about the corporate individual. So when I talk about this person, I mean it can be just an average person who go into work. They don't necessarily want to do any sports to a high level. They just want to be a good body. I'm just going to say body mass. They want to go to work. They want to have energy. They also have maybe a social life as well, as part of that. So what is that desired outcome? What is the point of looking at the trainings so holistically? What is the goal for them at the end? Not at the end of the journey, but the other side of the journey, let's say.
I think I'll jump in if you're okay, Ryan. Then you come in, and I think the goal changes for people, and that's something that we've definitely noticed. Clients that have been with us for a long time, initially it's just like I just want to feel a bit better, or I don't want to ache every day when I wake up, or I don't want to. I'm getting to the afternoon, I get a slump and I can't work, or I'm getting brain fog, I can't concentrate, I'm not performing well at work, I want this promotion, but I'm not sure how I'm going to get it. And then when you start looking at that entire person's life and also as well what they can do, so there would be no point us saying to them, right, okay, 3 gym sessions a week, and we're going to go and do 3 runs, and you need to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and do that, this, that, and everything else. That's never going to happen. So we always need to look at what's going to work for that individual, and whatever that may be. And you talk about 1%ers. You probably know we're both at stand-up desks.
Yep, I'm on a stand-up desk right now.
Yeah,
that's correct.
It makes a difference. It changes your focus. It changes your posture. We advocate kind of like changing positions maybe 3 or 4 times an hour. That one little thing can make a big difference for someone.
Do you know what, the one thing that makes a big difference to my week, and I'll let people decide how they want to take this one, but every Tuesday or Wednesday, I have a really big training session on a Tuesday and a Wednesday, and that's after the back of like a Saturday training, a Sunday training. So I've been training for 5 days in a row, and then I'm hitting a big training session. So I get to Tuesday and I have a whole pint of ice cream, because it's high calorie. Which people go, what? Yeah, I'm training for elite sport. Why are you eating a whole pint of ice cream? Well, it's high calorie, it's high sugar, it's high carb, and it's very low density. So I'm not eating volumes of food, and I don't really have to adjust my routine of food for the week. I can stick to my routine. I have this one thing in, and then what it stops, because I can still train the next day and I'll be fine, but it stops my mood like being grumpy. Yeah. My mood, it's just my mood. I just walk around a bit grumpy all day, and I'm like, why am I grumpy today? And it's to the point like, did you have your ice cream? And I'm like, no, I did not. And it's a noticeable change because suddenly it is about 750 to 1,000 calories. Like I don't know exactly how much is in it, but it lifts my mood up the next day. It doesn't change my physique, And actually, it makes sure that my Wednesday is actually a really good day rather than being a tired day, which is a crucial because I obviously do a full-time job. I'm not just an athlete. So that's my example of lifestyle design that towards my goals, which
And
might not be applicable to everybody.
do you look forward to that?
No, because I've got a bunch of different foods in my week that I look forward to. So I have two biscuits or two cookies before bed every day with my chamomile tea, and I look forward to my chamomile tea. It really is the little 1% during the week. Or I have fish on Friday, for example, and then I have burgers on Tuesday. Like there's a routine in my week, and there's loads of stuff that I look forward to. So
Peak, peak. Yeah.
yeah, every day I'm gonna get some kind of peak, and some of them is like I say smoothie basically I make at home as well. That's another peak on a Wednesday. Yeah, depends on what it is. So yeah, going back to then, because what's really fascinating is this the holistic approach. I know as you can tell, I'm a big advocate of it, and it's great to hear that more people are promoting it. So let's get into the nooks and crux of it. Like, what is the holistic approach? What are all the different elements of it?
The 4 pillars are physical, mental, emotional, and financial. Is that right?
They are, yeah.
You wrote the book.
I thought we work on.
Yeah, there is spiritual as well, but obviously there's loads you can focus on.
Ice cream spiritual.
I think
Yeah.
I think for us it's come out of understanding more about a topic as well. So we had our own struggles with sleep, and that we did loads more research around it, and it's like, holy shit, there's all this stuff that people aren't doing. These are the things we need to be doing, and these are all the percentage benefits that we can get from getting more sleep. So sleep really is the foundation of that. The exercise you do is another one. The food that you eat as well, the mindset that you adopt around that, and I think for us it's holistic, but it's more around actually understanding the individual. So we have clients that have got certain diseases, and then you've got to understand that, and then look to help those in a different way. The amount of clients we have where stress plays a massive factor on what happens in their body and how they feel, the pain levels they experience, the injuries that they get, and what can you do to manage your stress better. Nick did a presentation about a month ago, and it was around stress management for people in hospitality, and something as simple as having a carbon dioxide monitor in your room, and level should be at around, is it 800? And we was watching
watching the
we
numbers
was
go
literally
up,
watching the it was just like, just by even having the window just on the latch, if you are in that corporate environment, because you have the window on the latch to keep the oxygen flowing, because as soon as you get more carbon dioxide into the system, your focus goes, you become more irritable, all those things happen, and we're not aware of it. So I think sometimes
that's a great top tip. Just put a few plants in your office if you're working from home. If you're working, like you said, if you're working more in a corporate environment, quickly you can have a couple of plants in. It makes the room look nicer, and you're more oxygenated. That's great. I like that a lot.
It kind of goes one step further back as well. When it comes to planners, when they're planning office spaces, very much it's generally about just a lot of aircon units are just recycled air rather than fresh air. We spoke to one of our partners that we work with. They've had a new conference suite built. And one of the key things for them was that fresh air exchange in a conference suite where you've got maybe 200 to 500 to 1,000 people. How are they going to receive that information if carbon dioxide levels are through the roof when you've got 500 people breathing out? So they went through that process, spoke to the design, spoke to the architects, and they've now got a heat exchange fresh air system which makes sure that particular space has always got fresh air. And they've noticed the difference in the way in which people respond in the conferences as well. So, and it's something that if you said to someone in the street, they probably wouldn't even think about it. They go to work, they go to the office, whatever's happening on, as long as the temperature's okay, they're not worried about it. So it's about finding, as you highlighted already, those 1% things that can make a difference, and be the difference between someone having a good day and a bad day.
Oh, absolutely, and that's what we're aiming here for. You know, if you can have more good days over bad days, because I do believe that the bad days are important. Because if you don't have any bad days, you don't really appreciate the good days. But we want to make sure the ratio is more good to bad, don't we? So if we're talking about the gem, let's like the gem pop of the workforce, because I appreciate with having got autoimmunes myself and trying to adjust for, you know, if you've got slightly different to maybe like the gem pop, it is a bit more difficult. But talking about the gem pop, what's the sort of top three tips that kind of debunks a bunch of myths? So for example, uh, you already sort of mentioned it, Nick, the kind of waking up at 4 a.m. and going for a run, like narrative that comes through on Instagram. My running joke at the moment, it's not a joke, it's true, is that the person who advocated for waking up at 5 a.m., he actually lives in LA. He lives in LA and he's wrote this book. And if you live in LA, you do have to get up at 5 a.m. just to do business with the rest of the Western world. Fortunately, obviously, if you're based in the UK and if you maybe do work with the US, you've got like 5 hour head start on people. You don't need to get up at 5 a.m. To do a good work day, a productive work day. You can still get that 8 to 9 hours of sleep. So tell me what the three things that kind of debunk a bunch of like myths like that.
So well, there is that thing that we get up at 4:30 every morning, so we're not gonna go down too well.
No, but if that works, but this is obviously the point of having you guys. So if that
Yeah,
works for you guys, it will be terrible for me. Like,
yeah,
but as you've been saying, the whole show is everybody is different. We're all looking. We're all looking for the end goal of having more good days, bad days, more energy, feeling good about yourself. But that little bit of lifestyle design and this holistic approach, those little 1% are slightly different. And but there'll be a few sort of commonalities, like the plant. I really like the plant sort of top tip because it's something everybody can do, and obviously more oxygen in your environment is going to have a more positive effect. So I like that.
yeah. There's one thing that I'll let Rye talk about. There's one thing that Rye says in every presentation on sleep, which always gets a massive amount of pushback.
Ooh.
But as soon as they implement it, it starts to change things. I don't think, Charlie, you're going to like it either. So, Rye, over to
Go on,
you.
hit me.
Well,
I'm in suspense.
I think our experience with people in corporate environments is they can sometimes feel like they are almost on a bit of a conveyor belt, stuck, but they actually want to do something about it. So we've spoke to a lot of people where they actually want to improve their health and well-being, but they're looking at it going, I don't really know how I'm going to fit all this in. What time have I got? What can I actually do? Like, I'm not sleeping well. I want to exercise, but I've got kids. I've got this, and this. And one of the things that a massive myth around caffeine is that like people can have it like at 5 p.m. and then be in bed and get a good night's sleep. It stays in your system for 6 hours, so it's got a half-life of 6 hours caffeine. And if you have a cup of coffee at 2 in the afternoon, 6 hours later, half of that is still in your system. And I was guilty of this. Like, I used to just drink enough caffeine to like knock out a rhino, but you're getting into bed, you're tossing and turning, you feel itchy, you're not getting a good night's sleep. And as soon as you make that change away from it and actually give yourself, no, I'm not going to have any more caffeine later than midday, things really do start to change. And if you can really crack sleep, especially if you are working in a high performing role, it just makes everything so much easier. You feel less anxious. You are so much less likely to be depressed. You're way more productive. They did a study on NASA did a study on it, and they did a 26-minute nap just on pilots, and it was a 54% increase in their performance and a 26% increase in their alertness. So it really is crack the sleep first, and by cracking the sleep, don't have caffeine too late because it can stay in the system for a long time.
Yeah, I can see why that would get pushed back, and also why I wouldn't like it because I do like it. I do love my caffeine, and I do have a cut off. Mine is 3 p.m., which is still a little bit late in the day. But if I didn't sleep the solid like 9 to 10 hours of proper deep sleep, I would do more about it. Because you're right. It's once you. I think I cracked sleep about 10 years ago, and it does make such a huge difference because if you don't sleep well, you get grumpy, your mood's more susceptible to subjective things that are around you. You're going to go to convenience, and if you've got like a high volume of like high dense sugary food around you, you're going to go to that takeaway. You're going to go to the easy things that's around you. And like you said, you're gonna be low mood, so you're not gonna do as much work in the day that you necessarily want to, which leads into another spiral. Because if you don't do enough work that you want to you're not as productive. You feel bad about yourself, so then you go to food because you need to comfort yourself, or you go and do some other activities to comfort yourself. And they're just the things I can list off the top of my head, of the spiral effect if you don't nail down that sleep. So focusing on then the key points, what would be what sort of, like, if you're cutting out, say the person's cut out caffeine, what's kind of the next few things that a person could look to do if to improving their sleep?
I think firstly, cut the caffeine. I think the second thing as well is it's not just about the amount of hours you get to sleep. It's actually what you do when you wake up. Now, I don't know what it's like in America, but when we have the change in seasons, like we can sometimes be walking and be dark. So if you can get yourself out in sunlight and just set your body clock, it improves your mood. It suppresses the production of the sleepy hormone. So, that sleep inertia that you get sometimes when you really feel like really groggy, it can just wipe that away within 5 minutes of just exposure to sunlight. So yeah, I think to crack the sleep, caffeine, get yourself out in sunlight, and coming off all technology, phones, laptops, TVs, all of those things, we would say around 90 minutes before you plan to sleep, because you are allowing your body and your mind to start thinking about, this is my time to actually start winding down now rather than winding up. The last thing you want, especially as somebody in a high pressure job, is to see an email coming in from a client 10 minutes before you plan to go to bed and going, well, I can't do anything about that, and I've just seen that, and now that's my sleep screwed. So
yeah, literally
putting those things in place.
The worst.
Yeah.
I know. I'm going to be good jump on that. So these are actually like blue light glasses. These ones here as well.
Oh, okay.
What I've got, and I need to. It's on my job list. I need to get 2 glasses. I need some glasses for in the morning, and I am aware of this. When you travel in the world, it becomes a bit hard. To get some glasses for in the morning, and then I can wear these at nighttime again. Because what we're talking about with the technology is this emitting of light into your eyes, that light that's meant to like wake you up, and really we're looking to that melatonin to be kicking in and helping you go to sleep. And and absolutely no, the worst thing you ever want to see is an email coming in, and that the brain, you're doing this, Nick, because it's true, the brain starts spiraling out of control, and there's nothing you can do at, like, let's call it 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. It's terrible. And actually, I'm just gonna I think sort of final question, because it's very easy. I realize it's very easy to say to people, "Hey, you should stop drinking caffeine at 12 o'clock," and then not offer any solution to what else a person can do. So somebody said that they really wanted to take it seriously and really wanted to improve themselves, and they're looking to improve their sleep, but they love their coffee, like me. And it's more actually like a drink throughout the day. I do have a water. I've got a variety of different drinks on my desk at the moment. I'm looking. What would you suggest then as a different solution?
Decaf. Yeah. It's if people really do like the taste of caffeine, cup of coffee, cup of tea, go decaf is your first option, I would say, because it's kind of like going from here to cold turkey can sometimes not work. Water's great, but if you're used to having 20 cups of tea every single day, me saying let's go from 20 cups of tea a day to 8 cups of tea, they're just going to tell me to F off. So I think decaf is a great way to bring that caffeine consumption down while still having your tea, with the eventual aim of getting yourself onto more water.
No,
I think
absolutely.
I think as well, looking kind of like maybe for some other alternatives as well, sometimes we find that clients are struggling to switch off in the evening. And I know one thing that definitely worked for Ryan and does work for Ryan is that engaging a different part of your brain before you're going to sleep. So reading fiction as
Yeah.
opposed to work, emails, all those sorts of things, it engages a different part of the brain. You are thinking about things differently. It takes you away from that work environment where you're thinking about work and stuff. And if it takes you off into a different world, you stop thinking about virtually everything. And it can be a really good way for people to switch off. I've had a lot of clients that we've taken through the process where we've initiated something like that, whether it be that or whether it be breath work or whether it be something else, finding what works for them. And that's the thing as well, finding what works. But yeah, that is another way where if people are they're not gonna change their habit around caffeine. So like decaf is the perfect option, but if they can't, then we look at other ways that we can make their sleep as good as it possibly could be. Switching off from work is a big thing for a lot of people, and if we can help them with that, then that affects a change.
You can always just curl up in a ball as well and just cry a little bit and just think about all the caffeine that you can't have. That always works, doesn't it?
It's controversial, but yeah, we're not going to rule it out. On that note, because everything here is, I think it's super valuable, and you don't really understand how bad you feel until you start making these changes and doing these little things. And I'm a big fan of the little stuff, like the reading of the fiction book and the plants and the even just sticking a water bottle just on your desk, even if you don't intend to drink it, just at least it's in your peripheral telling you to drink it. Sometimes it's enough to drink half of it, and that's sometimes all we need to do in the day to make it's a win. It's a win, exactly. Did I have at least one mouthful of that water today that I put on my desk? Great. Then that was a start. So with the obviously how people can get in touch with you guys. So what is the one thing that people can buy from you guys that's under £100 that's going to add a ton of value to their lives?
What can they buy for 100 quid?
Well, do you know what? I mean, I think because there's something that's free. We put a lot of content out via our blog, and a lot of the stuff we talked about today, there are blogs there which kind of offer a lot of information where people can maybe start the journey. All of our corporate clients get access to our some of our training programs as well. There are free training programs on the site as well people can try. So yeah, I think free. There you go. That's you can't get much better than that, can you?
I think it's the best place to start. Some people will kind of know what some of the easy wins to do, and if they can be self-motivated to fix one or two of the low-hanging fruits, they'll get a huge amount of value when they start talking to you both. Now, what was the URL? What was the website address so they can go and read those blogs?
Unstoppbl without the e.com. And it's very quick to get the books from there. Yeah.
Easy peasy. So thank you so much for your time today, guys. This has been great. It's been really, really interesting, and I'm sure I can do a whole other podcast on this, because like I said, we're literally just scraping the top of the surface, and we're opening a whole big can of worms. So thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.
You too. Thanks very much.
Cheers, Charlie. Thank you.